What's going on, y'all? It's Hilario Nundes here, back at it again, Corpus Christi Originals podcast. Today we got a special guest, Pete Trevino, a man dedicated to helping others through boxing and barbecue, and Big Bertha. Pete, thanks for joining us.
Hey man, appreciate you for having me again, man.
All right, thanks a lot. You want to introduce yourself a little bit further?
Yeah, man. So Pete Trevino, been here in Corpus for a long time, and I moved here in '95. Started my family here. Um, you know, just doing dad stuff here in Corpus. You know what I mean, stuff like that. I'm originally from Houston. Came down here and you know, just made Corpus my second home.
Right on, right on. So we'll be talking about your journey, your passions to give back, lessons you've learned along the way. If anybody's watching on the live stream, drop a question in the chat. We'll be taking some questions throughout the episode. If you have any questions, let's see what else. So you said you grew up in Houston.
Yep.
What was life like as a kid for you?
It was, Houston's a very fast city. You know what I mean? It was, and then growing up, in the early '90s, you know what I mean? There, it was tough.
In the '90s,
it was tough. Like I said, everything over there, and they call it the city of no pity. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like that. It's got its good, it's bad, and it's ugly. You know what I mean? There, so. When my dad, everybody, my family decided to come down here, we just so I came down here in '95 and I ain't left.
Wow. Was your dad in the refinery business? Is that how he came over?
So my dad, for 35 years was a commercial and industrial AC mechanic.
Oh.
So all the venting in AC compressors and all that stuff, he would install that, and just he did that for over 30 years.
Hey, nice.
So,
did you have any like role models growing up that influenced your path?
Yeah, my mom. You know what I mean?
Your mom, yeah.
Yeah, my mom. She, I said she was a special needs teacher. So she was always, always giving back. You know what I mean? People always looked up to her and always went to her for things because the old school moms, man. They're built different back then. You know what I mean? They when they love, they really love. And you don't have to be a direct son or a direct daughter with the same blood. You know what I mean? They just, when they love you, they love you. And my mom was always known for just helping people and stuff like that. And I seen that growing up. I'm the oldest son, so I got to see everything firsthand. And my dad too. My dad was with that old school knucklehead dad, you know what I mean? That he was tough on us, you know what I mean? And and I took everything with a solid grain, and just learned from everything from him, and I still use everything that I learned from him to this day. I lost my dad in 2010.
Wow.
So
wow. So you learned a lot from your dad. That, man, I think that's very important, and I talk about that often. As far as having a father in the household,
that's crucial, you know what I mean? And that's where, even as Hispanics, Mexicans, Latinos, you know what I mean, we go back and look at how our grandparents were, you know what I mean, and having their, our parents see that they had their dad in their lives, you know what I mean, it just helped them be the way they were when it came time for them having kids, and we're a product of them, you know what I mean, and we got to keep this cycle of keeping our dads in our lives, you know what I mean, dads keeping their kids in lives, because it's very important, you know what I mean, like I always said this, and some people disagree, some people don't, but I've always said, you know what I mean, a woman can't raise a man, and a man can't raise a daughter, in the sense of understanding what it's going to take to be a woman when you grow up,
right,
and a mom teaching a young man how to be a man. You know what I mean? That's there's roles for that reason. And unfortunately, there's just a lot of homes that don't have that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's hard, and it puts a lot of stress on the single dads, the single moms. You know what I mean? Trying to do it when dads walk out on their lives, or the mom walks out on their lives. And you're trying to play both parts. It's tough.
It's tough. Yeah, for sure. I know this when I'm teaching my kids. Like I noticed things that my dad used to teach me, I'm teaching my kids. You know what I mean? And of course, growing up, you're like, you don't understand what's going on. Is it until you're in their shoes, you're like, man, I realize why they told me that,
Yep.
Yeah, so
my dad used to always tell us, like, you think I'm being hard on you? I said, well, you'll thank me later. You know what I mean? And, you know, up until he took his last breath, that was one of the things I whispered into his ear and was just told him, just like, you know, I'm going to continue, you know, doing what you taught me to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, he was real, like he was old school. He was an old school man. So he believed, you know, young boys are treated this way to be built this way.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there was 5 boys, you know, I'm the oldest. So it was, you know, to have 5 boys in the house, you know what I mean? With just a mom, you know what I mean? That was tough on my mom, you know what I mean? Having 5 boys, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think different cultures have a way of raising either boys or girls, you know, I guess. And I guess in like Hispanic, it's more like you got to grow up to be tough, right? I guess you could say.
Yep.
That's the way boys are raised, and girls are
You can't cry. You can't be sissy. You can't do this.
Stop crying.
Just
Yeah,
stop
yeah.
crying. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and you grow up like that, and then, like for me personally, like I noticed that it got to a point where I wouldn't be able to voice my feelings or my thoughts. You know what I mean? So, and that's important.
Very.
Later on, you're like, damn, I need to start saying how I feel, especially if I'm married or if, you know, to my kids, to let them know what's going on.
Oh yeah.
Communication is
Well, see, the thing
huge.
is, I learned that these maybe past 10 years, man, about opening up. You know what I mean? You know, because like I said, I grew up never to expose that, you know, that side. You know, you're going to be a young man. You're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to this. You know, nobody's ever supposed to see you cry and this, and that. You know, and you know that was. You know, as I got older, it was something I didn't I didn't agree with. You know, holding that in. You know what I mean? You know, it's not healthy.
Wow.
You know what I mean? You know, and now, you know what I mean, I've grown past trying to keep that shield of like, oh no, you know what I mean? You know, this hardness of,
Yeah.
you know, oh, I can't let nobody see me cry. I can't. If me and
Yeah.
you were talking right now, we got emotional, bro. I cry with you right now.
Was there like something that happened for you to like realize like, oh shoot, maybe I should start sharing this information?
When I started losing the people that I love.
Oh
You know what
wow.
I'm saying? I lost my mom in 2005. 5 years later, I lost my dad. You know, lost numerous aunts and uncles, cousins.
Wow.
You know, and just really good friends over it. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I mean, holding on to being a certain way,
Oh.
just for people to feel a certain way about you. That's just to me wasn't worth it anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you
Oh,
know,
wow.
I felt I got past that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and it's helped to right now. Ever since I've just changed that mind of thinking, I mean, I felt that I've been, you know, a better dad towards my kids. My kids see me different. You know, they're like, you know, like dad. You know what I mean? And it all, you know, comes with even with what I'm doing right now with just doing community work. Like, you know, my kids have seen like a big change in, you know, my attitude as far as, you know, how to love them and, you know, being there for them more and, you know what I mean, stuff like that. So, you know, it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah, man, definitely. It's awesome, man. So you grew up in Houston. Let's see. So we're moving on. We're talking about you have a boxing gym at the Y.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's inside the YMCA. I think we're coming up on a year there already. Like I said, that started with just, we went in there to go talk to them about maybe possibly sponsoring some of the young kids.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, YMCA has been around for a long time.
Sponsoring some of the young kids, like what? Like
So,
helping them with.
like when we would go to competitions, you know what I mean? You know, helping them with like the road trips and,
Oh,
you know what I
okay.
mean? Maybe even sponsoring them with like gear, you know, their own boxing gloves,
So the
headgear.
Y already had like a boxing.
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
Okay.
no, so they didn't. But we knew that YMCA is about kids. You
Right.
know, it's been like that for 85 years or longer. You know what I mean? So, we, you know, me and my partners just decided, man, let's go talk to them and see maybe if they, you know, would be interested. We had tried to go to the Boys and Girls Club first, but
Yeah.
they shut us down to me. They're like, oh no, you know, boxing is violent. You know what I mean? These kids, they already live in the ghetto, and, you know, and I'm like, that's not what we're here to teach. You know what I
Oh
mean?
wow.
So we went to the Y, sat down with Miss Gwen. She was the interim CEO at the time. She gave us the floor. She said, well, you know, it's just like when you go to a bank, you want to get a business loan, right? They want to hear what you have to offer before they're going to loan you any type of money. You know what I mean? So she was like, okay. She goes, what kind of presentation do you have? So, we sat there for like 3 hours just talking about our goals, what we were trying to get, what we're trying to do with these kids, how we're trying to be impactful for them, because where the Y is right now, it's a pretty bad neighborhood too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, she loved it. And then she's like, well, instead of us to sponsor you, what do you think about opening up inside here? And we're like, whoa, we were sitting there like, okay, well, this just took a turn.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? She loved it. She backed us up, gave us a section of in there, man. And it was game over. We started putting the ring in there, started putting punching bags, speed bags, jump rope, you know what I mean? And then we just started getting kids signing up, and it's been good.
Wow.
Been good.
Had you been into boxing before all this?
Yeah, when I was younger, you know what I mean, my dad had put me in, when I got, matter of fact, just yesterday, I was going through some old pictures, and when my dad was training me, you know what I mean, my dad was my coach for a while.
Wow.
And he was like, if you're gonna be fighting out there, in the streets and all that, you might as well try to make some money out of it, you know what I mean? So he got me into fighting and boxing and stuff like that. And then when I moved here in 95, I tried to carry that on when I signed up at Baltazar Gym right there on 19th.
Yeah.
95. I was there for, about a year. And then I had my first kid. And so I was trying, at 17, I'm trying to be a dad, a boxer,
man.
a provider, a husband at the time, because, I was with, with my she was my first wife for 8 years, and we had 3 kids together. So I was like, man, I was 17 years old,
Wow, that's
the minimum wage at that time was $4.25. So trying to be, trying to work and then be trying to train, it was too much. I know there's a lot of people that make that happen, but my goal was to try to be, professional, get into it, and then I turned 18. I got into the oil and gas business, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah. Man, so when you got into that, you figured like, I got to figure out how to take care of these kids.
Yeah, man. You know what I mean?
You grow up fast. It seems like it.
Well, and that's another thing that my dad, taught me, was just like, if you're going to go against the grain, just know that there's repercussions for everything. You know what I mean? And, when I told him that I was going to be a dad, he was like, are you ready for it?
Oh.
I was like, well, I don't think I have a choice. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I have a choice. And he was just like, well, just remember, he says, that's your kid, not mine.
Oh.
You know what I mean? He says, you know what I mean? And, and that just goes back to my work ethic of what I learned from him to provide. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I was 17, you know what I mean? I understood the responsibility, and, I didn't want to be that system where like, a young kid just disappears and leaves a kid out there, you know what I mean? And it wasn't like that, you know what I mean? And then I ended up having 2 more.
It's because your dad raised you like that?
Yeah,
right?
man.
Like,
My
you
dad
got to take responsibility.
My dad always said, he says, a man that doesn't take care of his kids is not a man. You know what I mean? So, it was just something that was embedded in us, you know what I mean? Me being the oldest, he put the burden of responsibility high for me, so that my brothers coming up understood, you know what I mean, the assignment as well.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So, it was tough growing up in the early 90s, man.
Wow.
You know what I mean? As a teenager, you know what I mean? Like it was hard, you know what I mean? Especially, with my dad, you know what I mean? My dad was never in the military, but he ran a strict program.
Yeah.
He had expectations, and we were to live by it, not act by it, live by it. You know, so my dad was that one. If on the weekends we weren't allowed to sit in the house. Remember, my dad used to just kick us out. He's like, "Hey, you don't belong in the house. Only women belong in the house." You know what I'm saying? Take your tail outside and go act like a kid. But when that street light comes on, you better be coming home. So I mean, we understood the assignment.
Wow.
Dad wasn't playing no games, so all that stuff just transpired into me to be, you know what I mean, to take responsibility. My dad was all about accountability. Like you know what I mean, you do something, you'll know there's a consequence. You may not like the consequence, but there's consequences behind.
Wow.
So it was, a lot of that I still use all those terminologies that he taught me. And I'm 46 years old now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I use it to this day.
Yeah, shout out to Pops, man.
Yeah,
Reminds me of my
Pops,
dad.
yeah.
See more doors in the house, baby.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, and we just got to keep. I mean, we got to keep our legacy. Our bloodline. You know, strong. You know what I mean, and our values. You know what I mean, our moral values of family. You know what I mean. And so I passed that on. I got 5 daughters, so it was.
Wow.
You know what I mean, it was a little difficult for me to
Holy
try to
smokes, $5.
be. Yeah, I got 5. You know what I mean, so it was hard for me to try to be the tough guy, like you would a son. You know what I'm saying, trying to be like that with 5 girls.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it was just like, man,
Yo.
So yeah, so I mean, I had to do a little adjusting, but I mean, my daughters too. I mean,
Did you have sisters?
I got 2 sets of families, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I got a total of 13 brothers and 3 sisters.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So we come from a big family.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, I'm saying because I grew up with all brothers with no sisters. Like I really didn't kind of learn how to. Well, I mean, my mom for my mother that raised me. Shout out to Jackie Hernandez.
Yeah.
But like having sisters and then growing up a daughter is like, oh, you start figuring out how girls are in the household.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or even just getting married and living with your wife. That's a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's put it this way. I had 6 in the house then. You know what I mean? That it was tough being the only male in the house. You know what I mean? And that's 6 different mood swings. You know what I mean? Dad.
Are you proud of your kids now?
Huh?
Are you proud of your?
Oh, absolutely. Every single one of them, man. You know what I mean? Like my oldest is 28.
Yeah.
I got my 25. I got 2 21-year-olds, and I got a 10-year-old.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's
awesome.
Kids
are a blessing, bro.
Oh, they are. You know what I mean? Like I said, my oldest. But all I ever told my kids, man, because I said I didn't graduate high school, man. I made it to the 8th grade. You know what I mean? I never went to high school. I don't know what it's like to be in high school. But I didn't want to accept failure, right? So when I had my kids, I told my daughters like this. I was like, look, when you turn 18, there's not much I can do to tell you how to live your life because you're already an adult. All I want to be able to do is when people walk in my house, I want them to see diplomas hanging on my wall. That's all I want. If you don't go to college, that's fine. I said, my responsibility is to help create you.
Yeah.
And help you to pre-adulthood. After that is your choice. So, I mean, you walk into my house right now, man, I got 4 diplomas on the wall.
Wow.
2 of my daughters are entrepreneurs. One has her nail salon that she's been doing. I mean, she's doing wonderful things with that. My other daughter moved to Colorado. She's a beautician. She got her license to do that. I got one of my 21-year-olds is going to school to be a traveling nurse dermatologist.
Oh, wow.
And then my oldest, well, she just, she graduated and she's like, Dad, I want to be a mom. I want to be a wife. And
wow.
so she got married. Her and my son-in-law doing great things. They got their own family. You know what I mean? I got 6 grandkids. You know, so
wow, man, that's a blessing.
Yeah. So
wow.
it's good.
So we're talking about boxing. Now we're going to barbecue. Was it a family thing or did you pick it up later?
We always barbecued. My dad. It was not something in the beginning when I was younger that it was something that I enjoyed like doing. But my dad. I watched my dad, uncles. Do it.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't until about 20 years ago that I kind of just like, man, you know what I mean?
Got into it.
Well, because I would see some of my friends, they have their homes and they had a barbecue pit. I was like, I'm pretty good at learning something and taking off with it. You know what I mean? So I was like, I bought my first barbecue pit and, burnt a lot of meat. You know what I mean? Because, the only way.
It's like Texas culture, I think. Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
You have a house and you got to have a pit somewhere.
But the only way I learned this, the only way you learn how to make good barbecue is by messing up barbecue. So that you learn what not to do.
Figure out how to make the fire, all that stuff.
That creating and maintaining fire is the only key, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. And we're creatures of habit, man. I've messed up a lot. You know what I mean? I've messed up a lot. You forget. And now, I've built my way of science of it to where what works for Pete when I'm cooking anything, when I'm doing fundraising, when I'm just doing private events, when I'm doing, just at the house, everything, there's a technique to it for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everybody's got their own, and they'll tell, hey, Peter, how do you do this? I said, look, man, I'm not going to tell you how my way is, but what I can tell you is that Go buy you a brisket. You know, I said, and if you don't want to learn it the hard way by messing up, they got YouTube stuff. You can get on, you know, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can do now. You get on TikTok and they teach you how to make a brisket, but you can follow that and still mess up. I said, so you gotta build your pathway for it. You know what I mean? So that you create, you know, your own legacy and, you know, in cooking. So, you know, I've taken, you know, from a lot of people that I follow and I've learned barbecue from, I've took little ideas from here, and created what works for me. Cause at the end of the day, like, you know, not one person can say they created how to make barbecue. Everybody learned somehow, and they twisted little things here when it comes to seasoning, or maybe how they smoked, or how they set a fire, like, you know, everything, you know what I mean? Nobody ever does it the same. You know what I mean? So now, like I said, I mean, I live and breathe barbecue, man. I love it.
You just told me you did like a whole bunch. How many turkey legs? I'm like,
so yesterday we did 500 turkey legs yesterday.
Wow.
Started cooking at 3:30 in the morning. You know what I mean? Getting Big Bertha hot. You know, it takes a lot of wood to get hot.
Is it easier? So I guess it's easier to have like that box before the fire as opposed to having it under the grill.
So having it under the grill, that's the term that they use, grilling.
Right. Okay.
You're cooking over coals. You know, firebox is smoking the meat, right? Which is off to the side,
right?
You know what I'm saying? You know, some of them, you know, pretty sure you've heard the term, you know, offset smokers, you know, reverse smokers, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, it's, you know, I'm more of a smoke guy. Like I like to smoke my meats.
So there's a debate right there.
There's always a debate. You know what I mean? There's always there's some people that can grill phenomenal. Like, I mean, I know some guys that can cook over coals 10 times better than I can.
Right.
You know what I mean? But when it comes to smoking, you know what I mean? I've mastered my way.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And it's worked out because, you know what I mean? You know, people come back and they're like, hey, Pete, can you cook for me? Hey, can you cook a brisket for me? Can you cook some leg quarters? Can you cook turkey legs? You know, can you cook some pork butts? You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? It's worked out well, you know what I mean? And, you know, and it's just like anything you do. I mean, even like in your podcasting, right? You know what I mean? You're learning something new about a podcast that could help elevate your way of how you do podcasts. It's the same thing in barbecue.
Like a craft, or honing in your craft.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Or you may have seen an idea from somebody on the other side of the country. You're like, man, what if I implement that here? You know what I mean? You know, how would the response be of people? Well, you got to try it in order to find out. So that's how I look at it. Like, you know, when I started doing, when I had my barbecue store on here in Corpus, you know, everybody was like, oh man, you got to go to San Antonio to get a, you know, stuffed turkey leg. You got to go to Houston. You got to go here.
Wow.
So my mentality was like, what can I do to keep them people here instead of driving all the way 4 hours to go get a $30, you know, turkey leg?
Yeah.
So what I did is that, you know, I figured out my way of understanding how I can make it not their way, but my way that's still going to be delicious and good.
Yeah.
So I did. You know what I mean? And, you know, it was good, you know, creating sandwiches. That's a good thing about a kitchen, man. It's all creativity. It's, you know what I mean? You know, what can you do that's going to make people come, you know what I mean? And of course, in the food industry, you have to be different, man. You can't be like everybody else. So you have to veer off and like, okay, well, what's going to make my barbecue brisket sandwich better than, you know, Corpus Christi Originals barbecue sandwich? You know what I mean? Shout outs to him, but how can I make mine different? Right? Because then, you know, you get people that start hating on you, like, oh man, you know what I mean? He never used to cook before. You know, I had my business first. Now he's got it. He stole my ideas.
There's always a reason. Yeah,
there's always a reason. I always tell people all the time, I said, man, look, you didn't invent nothing. You know what I'm saying? Everybody took something from somebody, or, you know, years of watching somebody else do something, and now you added your own brand. You know what I mean? So instead of being mad about it, how are you going to separate yourself from him? I mean, how are you going to do your podcasting different than him? Or how are you going to do your, you know, your construction business better than, how are you going to make these people like, yeah, I don't really like the way they're doing it, but this guy over here, man, he's phenomenal. I mean, he just does things different, you know what I mean? And it's the same thing. But the food world is so critical, man, is that consistency. You have to be consistent. And I mean, I'm pretty sure you got to do that in everything in life. You got to be consistent when you're, you know, trying to build something. But you know, when it comes to food and barbecue, bro, like, you have to, I mean, the internet will tear you up. If it was phenomenal on Monday and you messed up on Tuesday, they're going to let you know. They're going to let you know. They're going to be, you know, they're going to be very vocal about it. And then it's not like McDonald's, right? How many times do people complain about McDonald's? They got they built a brand where they got a suggestion box of complaints. But that's $1 trillion business. You can complain all you want. Guess what? They're still going to make $1 trillion.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
a small business can't afford to be inconsistent
Wow.
and take negativity. So you always, walking on eggshells to make sure that.
It's almost like you have to love to do it. Like,
You have
you
to,
have
man.
to like be into it.
I mean, if you have to.
You know what I mean?
I learned some things along the way that helped me prepare. Because like I said, the world is crazy, man. I mean, they'll crucify you over, over the smallest thing when it comes to food. And I know you've done a lot of interviews with people that have barbecue spots and food and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure they've talked about it before, man. It's one mistake can just dissect you. You know what I mean? And now the way we got access to all these social media platforms, and I mean, you get on there, people talking about it. Next thing you know, it's a trend of how bad you were. You know what I mean? And so it's just like you have to walk on eggshells all the time. And
You viral for the wrong reason.
yeah, you know what I mean? You buy, it's just like, oh man. But like I said, man, it's a passion. I love it. I don't think I'll ever do anything else,
Well, so at what point did you realize you could use, I guess, the boxing and the barbecue to give back, or do community service, or whatever you call it?
So what we ended up doing is just, we would always host boxing fundraisers, right? And I always tell people like this, yes, we have a fee, right? But it was never about trying to make money. It was always, what can we do for the kids that can't afford to come or can't afford to pay? Because I'm not going to tell a kid that he can't come in here and train and learn, and then he's going to go do something bad in the streets.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Me and my partner always just talked about like, hey, we're never going to tell nobody that kid can't afford to be here. We're going to let him do whatever he just do. I said, let's just once a month, let's do a fundraiser. Whatever money we raise, we put it back into the gym, and the kids that can't afford, we'll just keep paying for them. We'll get them their boxing gear. We'll do all that. And we talk with the parents. We'll let them know like, hey, and we tell them, not to talk to their kid of, that they couldn't afford it. They couldn't do that. Cause some kids, they'll feel compassionate. Like, well, I don't want my mom to spend her last $30 for me to get it. So we always tell them like, hey, we're not going to tell them. We don't want you to tell them. Just let them know that, he's got a membership, you bought him his gloves, you bought him his mouthpiece, you bought him his headgear, all that stuff. So, and then we had some kids that were competing that we would drive to, Florida, San Antonio, Houston, the Valley, to go and compete, train, to go spar. So we would we would get the community involved to kind of basically help sponsor the kids, what I'm saying? And then, some of them, what I mean? Like I said, they needed new gear. I mean, that boxing gear is not cheap. I mean, even what you think is the cheap, when you're buying for 20 kids, it's not cheap. You know what I mean? So
right on, man. So you had that passion. If there's anybody in the chat you guys want to leave a question, go ahead and drop it down below. If not, just thanks for staying in for listening. So boxing as a tool for empower. I mean, you were talking earlier before Aaron. You were saying, I don't know if we mentioned it here, but you were saying we want to teach them more than just fighting. It's like
just basic life skills. I'm saying talking to these young men of having a role in life, not just being on video games and doing stuff like that. I mean, go outside and explore, man. You know what I'm saying? Go outside and get your knees dirty, get your elbows scraped up. You know what I mean? Go enjoy life, but not getting into boxing with the understanding that you're going to go beat people up. You know what I'm saying? Because any sport, any type of sport that you're in, all these legends talk about one thing: discipline. I don't care if you're Mike Tyson. You go on his podcast, he always talks about discipline. All these legends. Vander Holyfield. You go on all their podcasts, and you hear them talk. The first thing is that if you don't have discipline, you're never going to be great at it.
Wow.
So we try to teach them that right off the bat. Like, discipline. Hey, and if we fear that you're veering off from it, we're going to have a conversation about it. We're going to get you back into understanding, that discipline here, you're going to have discipline. This same discipline you have here, you need to have at home. You know what I mean? whether you there's a father figure there or there's a mother figure there, you still have to have discipline.
What's your definition of discipline? In this case,
just so I guess you can use definition for a lot of,
yeah.
Right. So to me is, not being scared to own up to what you do wrong, listening and understanding what somebody's trying to do for you, to help you create a path, and of course the whole, the right from wrongs, you know what I mean? Just understanding that's bad. Why did you make that decision? What put you to that point to make that bad decision? Okay. Well, that there's a consequence to this. You know what I mean? How, in most kids nowadays, you tell them that like, oh, I'm not worried about it. You need to be worried about it. You say like, you can't have that attitude and expect to live the next 40 years of life. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And we were all young. We were all hard-headed too. So it's just, when I talk to them about discipline, I tell them I was undisciplined just like you. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of the how can you say, like, my dad, when he would travel for work for 6-7 months, he wasn't home. Didn't have anybody, but I had to keep that discipline because I knew when he came home, and I didn't,
there's consequences.
There's consequences because my mom was like, "Hey, well, you know what? Pete wasn't listening. He did this, he did that." So then my dad's having a conversation with me. He's like, "What part of the discipline did you not understand while I was gone?" You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there, and he was, before my dad believed in corporal punishment. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was never just, my dad, he never just reacted to be a bad dad. You know what I mean? He was like, well, there's a consequence, and you know how my consequences are. Why did you still do it? So now I have to hold you accountable. I have to hold you accountable to what you did. You know what I mean? Your mom told me what you did. You didn't listen, or you were bad in school, all this stuff like that. So all that discipline, I know when I go back and look at it now, you know what I mean? It's just like, man, it wasn't so hard to be disciplined if you know what I mean? It was just, you get around, even at a young age, you start getting around, kids your own age that maybe don't have respect for their parents. What's going to happen is that you're going to fall into that, to that trap of like, well, my friends don't listen to his parents. I mean, why do, so we always try to just teach them, just like I said, just the basic discipline of, and discipline is a mental thing. It's mental, you know what I mean? So, we try to instill that for them and try to break any bad cycle that they have. You know what I mean? The moms and dads sometimes come to us and they open up to us a lot, like, he's real aggressive, you know what I mean? He's got a lot of anger, and stuff like that. And like I said last time, I mean, some kids, feel comfortable talking to somebody other than their mom and dad about things. You know what I mean? So, we always tell them, it's like, look, we can keep a secret to a certain point. And if you come and tell us something that you haven't told your parents, we're obligated to tell your parents. You know what I'm saying? Because they feel comfortable. They think, well, if I tell Coach, you know what I mean, that he won't, no, we still need to, you know what I mean? And, we bring it to their attention, you know what I mean? And we just let them know, like, hey, we're like your uncles here. You know what I mean? We're here to help you guys. We're here to, be there for you if you need somebody to talk to, you need somebody, outside, because some kids don't feel comfortable talking to their dad or talking to their mom, you know what I mean? But you get them comfortable enough outside of that, you know what I mean? They'll tell you the world.
Wow.
So, we just try to be there for them in direction. And like I said, just teach that discipline, you know what I mean? Not trying to belittle them and be, if they're getting that type of treatment at home, we try not to, bring that at the gym.
Speaking with me back here, we had some technical issues, but yeah, that's interesting. Have you ever seen a like a kid come in one way and then leave transformed or different?
Like which way? Like
like they come in and maybe they're real bad. Maybe they don't have a lot of discipline at the onset, and then when they leave your program, you see them better than the way they came in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. You know what I'm saying? That so some of them can. We've had some of them adapt fast. You know what I'm saying? They just needed.
That's what they needed.
That's what they needed.
That structure.
Some of them, were a little, like we say in Spanish, like cabezudos. You know what I mean? They were, they were trying to test the waters of, oh, I don't need to listen to you. You ain't no, but I'm like,
Right,
okay,
right.
well, hold on. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and some of them took a little longer, but for the most part, man, it was always a good success story to be able to see that, you know, that the kids decided, that, and some of them that don't come, that they don't box anymore or train, they come back like, man, Coach Pete, you know what I mean? Things have been so much better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got a better relationship with, you know what I mean? With my mom, like I'm not so mad no more. I'm not so angry. And,
Wow.
and it just makes everybody that's a part of our program happy to know that, you know what I mean? That kid didn't decide to keep going bad and, end up in juvenile hall or, you know what I mean? Or out there committing crimes and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of good little success stories, man.
That's
you know
good.
what I mean? It's real good.
That's good. Do you have any future goals for the program?
Oh yeah, I mean, we want to continue to get bigger. You know what I mean? Eventually the goal is to, you know, we've had talks with YMCA about, maybe traveling to other cities and
Wow.
opening up a program. You know what I mean? So that's
Cool.
that's something that we hope in 2025 that we can
Nice.
be able to go to maybe San Antonio, Houston, and
Yeah.
open up a chapter there and just what I'm saying, just to see where
cool.
it goes, stuff like that. We've been talking about
That's
it.
great. That's great. So the program is Valor. Is it
Valor Boxing.
Valor
Yeah,
Boxing?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I found out you guys when we were looking at memberships for the YMCA. And we also had Lerone.
Shout out to Lerone.
Yeah,
That's
Lerone.
good.
Shout out on
Yeah.
here. Yeah, I got your message, bro. We'll try to work something out. So moving forward on the barbecue pit, let's talk barbecue. What are some good? What did the idea of using your pit for community service come about, or how did it come about?
So when I started doing benefits, it was always came to the point where, like, I used to ask other people to borrow their barbecue pits, right? And then sometimes people wouldn't come through. Oh, I forgot.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
I got drunk the night before, man. And me, if I say I'm gonna do something, I do it.
Yeah.
So, I always at that point when I was borrowing other people's barbecue, I always had to have a backup. A backup plan. Okay, if this dude doesn't answer me, and
That's funny.
I got plan B and C, people I can call and use their pits. You know what I mean? And at one point, we were doing benefits where sometimes I had 4 or 5 barbecue pits out there. You know what I mean? And then
Wow.
I told myself one day I'm gonna have my own. You know what I mean? And like I said, unbeknownst, man. You know what I mean? 3 years ago, Bertha came into my life, and
Yeah.
now you know what I mean. Like
Oh, you got your own, bro.
Yeah, I got my
And
own.
it's huge. That
Jeez.
sucker, man. Wow.
Yeah. From the tongue, from the hitch to the firebox is 27 feet. You know what I mean? Like she's 56-inch in diameter. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? She's a big girl.
But what was there a specific moment or event that made you realize barbecue could help people?
Well, actually, you know what I mean? I started to see when my dad passed away in 2010, you know what I mean? We had a barbecue, been, and I had so many people that told me like, oh man, I'll be there for you, bro. I got you. Even family. You know what I mean? Hey, cuz I got you. Whatever. When it came down to it, it was ghost town. You know what I mean? It was just
Wow.
me, my mom, and my brothers, it was a success. You know what I mean? Me being in the oil and gas business, you know what I mean? At that time, there was some turnarounds going around. I started reaching out to everybody. Hey man, oh yeah, dude, bring 50 plates over here, bring 100 plates over
Wow.
here. Like it was great. We were, we were able to bury my dad. You know what I mean? Very, very good. And then I told myself one day, I said, man, if I get lied to like this, how many other people
Wow.
around here get lied to by friends, family,
Oh,
all
wow.
this stuff? So I told myself, I said, man, I'm gonna try something. You know what I mean? I'm gonna try, and then I did. I started doing it, and then I ended up. There was a group of us that just started doing it, randomly. You know what I mean? And and some people, still stuck around and still help me from time to time. And then some people don't. You know what I mean? Which, like I said, it's a very time consuming thing too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people, we understand people got lives and outside of it, but. It's been a passion for me, you know what I mean? And, one thing I can't do is turn somebody away in their time of need, so, cause I always feel like I don't want nobody else to feel like how I felt, you know what I mean? And if I can help, you know what I mean? start a chain of reaction of, positivity. You know what I mean? I was just like, let's see where it goes, man.
Yeah.
It's been,
Yeah. So did you want to share, I guess did you want to share the backstory of Big Bertha, which is the name of your barbecue pit?
yeah. So everybody's been asking me like, how'd you come up with Big Bertha? The name, and I didn't even come up with it. I didn't come up with the name.
Wow.
So when I bought her, the next day we took off to Uvalde. My one of my best friends, OG friend, I've known him over 25 years. He went with me down there, and he asked me. He was like, "Hey, you got a name for her?" I was like, "I don't know." Like, you know what I mean? I said, "People name their barbecue pits." He said, "Oh yeah."
Oh wow.
He said, "Oh yeah." You know what I mean? Like that. He's like, I said, "I don't know." He said, "Well, I got a name." I said, "Well, yeah. What's that?" He said, "Big Bertha." And then you know what I mean? And I was just like, wow, that kind of rings a bell. You know what I mean? And from that day forward, man, it's been like that. So, you know what I mean? Shout out to my boy, Terry Amy.
Terry Amy. I was trying to remember his name.
Yeah. Terry Amy came up with it, and, he, and he helped start a legacy. You know what I mean? Cool. He came up with that name, and, Big Bertha's starting to become a household name. You know what I mean? People stop, like yesterday, people were stopping by taking pictures like, man, we seen, we seen her story. You know what I mean? We saw everything that she went through. They would take a picture with her. Absolutely. You know what I mean? So and then today, you know what I mean? Like I said, did another turkey leg sale today, another 400 leg quarters done today. And,
amazing.
It was, people just stopping like, man, we seen her on the news, man. One person was like, man, I don't have a social media, but I got YouTube. She goes, and I saw you talk about her on Corpus Christi Original.
Wow, nice.
So I was like, oh yeah. So shout out to my boy. You know what I mean? I said, yeah. She was like, yeah. She goes, I heard you're gonna be on there again, like that. So hopefully they're watching.
Nice.
But you know what I mean? And it stuck. I never thought of any other name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was Big Bertha. You know what I'm saying? 3 years ago, it was Big Bertha now.
Yeah, nice. And you mentioned on the last podcast, you bought it from a man that used to own it from Terrell.
Okay, so what I'm about to tell you now was just what I just learned just a few days ago that I didn't even know when I purchased her, because I talked to Mrs. Cooper, which is Mr. Cooper's wife. I was under the understanding that Mr. Cooper built her, and that's not the case. Mr. Cooper purchased her in 2007.
Wow.
And brought her to Corpus. She was built 4 years earlier, in 2003, and she was owned by Eddie Dean. It was a big old well-known barbecue place in Terrell, Texas, and then they moved it to Dallas, Texas. Now they're over there. So when she told me this, I was like, so Bertha's been around a lot longer than I ever anticipated.
Wow.
And putting in work. What Mr. Cooper and Mrs. Cooper did, they were real big involved in their church. So they got her for the simple fact of being able to cook massive amount of food for when they did, feeding for the homeless, for the church to raise money, kids. There was a lot of times that they used it for the book parade, and anybody who needed her, right? So, and then I reached out to the original owners, and told them my story, like, I own her now, sent them a picture of her, and,
Yeah, sorry, you guys. The Wi-Fi crashed, and we're just up for the second portion of this episode 84 with Pete Trevino. We were talking about Big Bertha, right?
Yep.
The backstory. So you just found out from Mrs. Cooper a few days ago that she was built in 2007?
No, she was built in 2004.
2004. Okay.
So they brought her down when they purchased her. They brought her in 2007 and brought her to Corpus in 2007. So from 2007 till now, she's been putting in community work, because Mr. Cooper was very heavily involved in the church. He was always helped raise money for the church. The kids, the buck parade, just countless other things. So she's. And I just found this out, like I was telling you right now, January, on the 24th, Friday is when I found this part out.
Yeah.
Because I asked her, I wanted to know more backstory on her, about how he built her. And, she's like, no, he didn't know. She goes, we bought her in 2007. I was like, wow. What? I said, she's really been putting in community work.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Since before I purchased her. So, it's just something that's adding to her legacy of, you know what I mean?
Cool.
And, story and stuff like that. So, I was stoked when I found that out. I was like, wow, it's
Yeah.
crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Wow. So since 2004, and you got her in 2007, you said, or
no, I got her in, so 22, the day after Uvalde school
Uvalde,
shooting.
right?
Yeah,
So
the day after is when I purchased her. And then the next day I took off
wow,
to Uvalde to go cook.
wow, with
So,
that, wow, with Big Bertha.
yeah, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people, I got a lot of phone calls. People like, hey, you know what I mean? Are you going to go? And and sure enough, I said, yeah. So I put it out there on social media. Man, that post went viral.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Corpus showed up so heavy for that because everybody could relate to it. Somebody's a mom, somebody's a dad, somebody's a grandparent, somebody's a brother, somebody's a sister. And
Yeah.
and it's so close to home because Uvalde is only a little over an hour and a half away. So, people were just so touched by it. They were like, and everybody knew me, so they're like, hey, what do you need, man? Bro, I had doctors, lawyers, politicians, people just calling, donating. Like, hey, man, we ended up leaving with, I can't even tell you how many trailers full of food to go down there and cook. I was only supposed to be there one day. I ended up being there like 3 days,
Wow, man.
cooking. So, you know what I mean? And like I said, just hearing that, her legacy before I even had her, she had one, you know what I mean? So it's just like, so shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Cooper, like I said, for bringing her down here and, you know what I mean? And then giving me the opportunity to purchase her and, keep doing what I do at, and finally having my own, barbecue pit. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
But, it's a big pit. She's a big girl.
So you've done a lot of barbecue benefits for people in need. Can you share one that really meant a lot to you?
There's actually two that,
Wow.
actually three. I'm going to say three that, they all mean something to me. Every single one of them, whether, and I've always tell people like this, man, I've buried more kids than I ever want to think about, you know what I mean? When it comes to this for, all kinds, kids with cancer, kids that, unfortunately, you know what I mean? Due to negligence of their mothers and their fathers or whatever. But the first one that really took a toll on me was in 2014. We did the benefit for the two girls that got killed on their drive-by on Sherrill Drive.
Wow.
They were two 9-year-old little girls. When I tell you that shook the city, or we cooked over 2,500 hamburgers, and I don't want to say how much money we raised, but it got to a point that we had to have police escort because we had trash bags and trash bags full of money to go to the Treviño funeral home and go and count this money and make sure everything was good. And then, we talked on the last podcast, Uriah, you know what I mean? That was something that really, really, and to this day, you know what I mean? It's very emotional for me because, I have daughters, you know what I mean? And, Jimmy and, her grandparents are wonderful people. And then the one that I did last year on New Year's, for Amethyst, she was the girl that had got killed by a stray bullet on New Year's Day.
Oh, man.
I was in vacation. I was in Denver, Colorado when I got the phone call. Spoke with the dad and the mom, and and we ended up having mutual friends. And my buddy James, me and him had a conversation and figured out, hey, how what we do to help this family. We did, and those three right there, like I said, they all mean something to me.
Yeah.
They all, but those three, I would say that really, really impacted my life. You know what I mean? Because, no kid should ever, a parent should have to go through that and, and bury their child, right? We all want the concept that we want to go before our kids. So, those three to this day, you know what I mean, hold a special place in my heart, where, because I'm close. Those three, I'm very close with either the mom, the dad, or the mom and dad when it comes to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's, and some of them we're still seeking justice for. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So we stand with the family, and, they know that if they need me, the community, for anything, we're there to continue to help.
Awesome, man. Man, that's awesome. Yeah. It's funny how the memorable ones are younger
Yeah.
people that have passed away and not people that are older or the same age as us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's amazing. What are some of the challenges that you faced? Let's see. Talking about barbecue benefits, you've done. How do you decide which causes to support?
I don't even look at it like that, man. It's just, and one of my news interviews that I did, they asked me that same question, and I always say the same thing. You know what I mean? I look at every time that I get a phone call, like if the man upstairs sent me a text message and it's like, hey, I just showed you what's out there.
Mhm.
What are you gonna do?
Wow.
I'm gonna attack it. Like, I'm saying, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna turn away. Now I've had some people call for help for things they shouldn't be asking for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's
It seems like that will happen.
it does.
Yeah.
It happens a lot more than people think. You know what I mean? I get a lot of, like, I'm about to lose my car and this and that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just can't. I can't help in that situation where, they want me to use the platform that I have and the community trust, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Because you couldn't pay a bill,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? I still try to help in some way, because I can understand, I've been there before where,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I've, lost my job, and, you know what I mean? The oil field crashed and I got laid off, and,
Mhm.
You think you got enough money saved up until your bills start running. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You start coming in
Oh, yeah.
fast. So, so I've been there. So I still try to help personally, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? How I can. But, when it comes to tragic events, kids, I just don't have the heart to say no to. So, you know what I mean? These two that I did, the one I did yesterday was a good friend of mine that, we talk about this cancer stuff, right? This is an ugly disease.
Mhm.
It's killing people, like, and, record numbers every month, every day.
Yeah.
There's a record amount of people that are dying from cancer.
Oh, wow.
And, my good friend Joe, he, reached out to me. I did one for him about 1.5 years ago when he first found out. And then, he reached out again, came back aggressive on him. So, we did that one. And then the one that I did today was for a family that lost their house in a house fire, with two young girls that, possibly got, this happened like 2:00 in the morning. And, they, more than sure that they ended up with some smoke inhalation, and,
house fire, bro.
stuff like that. And, thank God that they were able to get, the dad was able to get his family out of there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they lost everything. Like their house went from, beautiful home that, you know what I mean, that he built for his family to almost looking like, you know what I mean, he, lived in the slum, you know what I mean?
Wow.
So we did that today, and man, it was a beautiful, successful, both of them were sold out, and the community showed up
Nice.
like they do, you know what I mean, every time.
Wow. Yeah, it's something to be said about our community, like, because we always get a bad rap and stuff like that, but to hear stories like that, it's like,
Well, see, the thing is, I tell people all the time, man, you know what I mean, people don't give Corpus enough credit, right? Because they want to focus on the negativity.
yeah.
And my goal at one point was just to, like, let's show the other side. Let's see how much attention we can get with the positivity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's going. You know what I mean? Like those. I'll tell you a quick story, man. We was this today about 3:00. You know what I mean? I was there, and we were loading Bertha up. We were wrapping the turkey legs, and the ladies in the front, they're coming like, "Hey Pete, come here. You know what I mean? There's somebody who wants to talk to you." So I go up there, and there's this older gentleman. He's probably in his 80s, right? 70s,
Yeah.
75. Come up, and he was just like, "Man, he says, I just want to thank you for everything that you do, and this and this and that." And I said, "Well, thank you." And I saw that he had, the Marines asked him if he was in the service. He said, "Yes, I want to thank you for your services."
Oh, wow.
You know, and he was just like, he goes, I want to thank you what you do for, he goes, I've been living in Corpus Christi my whole life. I mean, he goes, I want to come personally thank you for your services and what you do for the community. You know, I said, well, thank you. You know what I mean? I said, but you know, it's not just me. I mean, there's a team of people, you know what I mean? You know, he said, yeah, but it starts with you.
Mm.
And when he said it like that, man, it struck me. And, well, the man started crying,
No.
bro. So like I talked earlier, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have a problem showing emotion. I don't have, so when I saw that he was crying, he just, you know, he goes, I just wanted, I had to come and meet you and thank you. You know what I mean? And, you know, so I'm sitting there like, I want right here for, you know, start getting emotional with this guy. You know what I mean? But, you know, I did, you know what I mean? You know, and, you know, he asked for a hug, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I gave him a hug and, you know, he was like, man, he goes, I want to make a donation to you. I was like, well, I don't take donations. I said, but he says, but I want to give it to you.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I mean, the guy handed me $20, right? And I was just like, I said, thank you. You know what I'm saying? He said, no, you just keep doing what you're doing and, you know, bringing the community together. And he goes, you know, and he started asking like, well, you know, I mean, who are these? I said, well, these are people that I've helped in the past. You know what I mean? They're coming to pay it forward and come help out and stuff like that. And he just like, you know, he's just like he was like, I love it. You know what I mean? You know, please continue. Me and my wife, you know, we love to see when we see you on the news. And that's how he found out about me.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because he saw they did a little news story on Bertha yesterday.
Cool. Oh,
so
nice.
he was just like, man, we had to come. He goes, I wanted to see her in person. And, you know, so when I get stories like that, man, you know, people that want to come over there and see Bertha and meet her and say, I mean, I don't want to take all the limelight from none of that. So I always point out the fact that it's just not me. Like, you know, there's a lot of people. Some people don't want to be recognized, and that's fine. You know what I mean? You know, like the gentleman that stepped up big time and helped Bertha get fixed because, you know, like we talked on last time, you know, Bertha was in bad shape. The firebox was bad. Somebody saw her post and was like, hey, come bring her. You know what I mean? This is a well-known major construction company that's been around for decades.
Amazing.
And the man that reached out to me was a good friend of mine, Mike. It was his friend, and he was a big wig in an oil company. Called him. He said, hey, get me in contact with Pete. We want to help him. We want to get her back on the streets.
That's cool.
Bro, we dropped her off on Wednesday last week, and I picked her up on Wednesday today. I mean, these guys worked crazy hours. And I don't even want to know the money that they what it would have took to, you know, to have bought everything. I mean, they put new gauges on her, the whole firebox.
Wow.
They put her name on it. They welded some crosses on it, you know, back because they're like, when you're pulling down the street, people should know what her name is. so when I seen that, when I pulled it, man, I got emotional about it because I was just like, man, you know what I mean? Like, she's really touching lives. You know what I mean? Even people that are not asking for services. I mean, just people in general, you know what I mean? And they're like, just keep doing it, man. You know, keep building the bond of our community amongst each other instead of people showing the hate, you know, and all the negative, you know what I mean? You know, it seems like, you know, drive-by shooting gets more attention than, you know what I mean? You know, a young athlete from one of these high schools that's probably going to be a great, you know, baseball player, you know what I mean? And probably be professional. Like, man, let's focus on that positivity and instead of all this, you know what I'm saying, this negativity where, you know, it's just, you know, it's crazy how it gets more attention than the good, you know what I mean? So if we can keep just doing the good things, you know what I mean, people see it, man, they'll tune in more. You know what I'm saying? So
for sure.
it just started with that old man today, man. It was he got me, you know, because then it's like I saw my dad.
Wow.
You know, so when he hugged me, I just, you know what I mean, like I got emotional because I felt like I was here, and I wish my dad was here. You know what I'm saying, to see and possibly be a part of this. And, you know what I mean, I just felt like, you know, I was getting a attaboy from my dad.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? You know, to hear it like that, you know what I mean? You know, and, you know, and then I had to go get something. When I turned around, the man was gone. Like, he left. You know what I'm saying? So I asked everybody, like, where'd he go? He said, man, he got in his little car and he took off. And like, I didn't even get to get his name, nothing, you know what I mean? But I'm pretty sure I'll see him again.
Cool.
You know what I mean? So.
Man, that's awesome. What are some of the challenges you faced in running these barbecue benefits?
Running out of food. People still there, you know what I mean? It's happening.
Selling out and stuff.
Selling out, and, you know, we're still, you know, I mean, we've done some road where we've had, you know, a line almost to a mile long. You know what I mean? And we ran out of food.
Oh no.
And you know what I mean, mind you, we were, you know, we may have cooked 1,000 leg quarters, and there was still 700 people waiting to get them. We're like,
Oh my god.
what do we do? You know
What do we
And,
do?
you know what I mean? But you know what I mean. You know, luckily we've never had any issue with unsatisfied community people. You know, that's showing support. You know, they're like, wait, it's a good thing. You know what I mean? If you're selling out, you know what I mean. You know, it's a good thing.
Oh yeah.
So you know what I mean. You know, so it's people are very understanding. They know, you know, and you know they when they see that we're doing another one, you know, they still come support. You know what I mean? So that's usually the challenge, man. We've run out of food, and people are still people are like, "Oh, are you gonna cook more?" I said, "I don't think we'll have it ready." You know what I mean? So it takes hours and hours to cook. You know what I mean? Food and stuff.
How do you find like the where to post up or where to park your trailer?
So I just had, you know, sometimes, you know, a lot of them that we used to do them, you know, on Sundays when bars were closed.
Yeah.
People, you know, we got friends that own bars. Oh, pretty man, you can use our parking lot, man. You know, cool, whatever. And then it just got to the point where, you know, now I got some real good dedicated places that don't mind it, because they know that we're going to take care of the place. We're not going to leave it dirty, you know. So one place is the VFW on Ayers, right? Right there at the Y, right there before you get to Galahar.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Is it Crosstown? Is it SPID? It's not there anymore because it used to be SPID and Ayers, right? With the DFW?
So if you're coming, it's literally walking distance to the juvenile hall. Like it's right there. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you exit at Galahar, you know what I'm saying, you take a right and you take a left on our Ayers, it's right here. You know what I'm saying? The VFW, and it's right by the bus station, the new, you know, right across the street. You know, that's where Megan's dad is the vice president of that VFW.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? Shout out to them. They, you know what I mean? When I call them and they tell them, hey, you know, we need an inside venue. Oh, Pete, boom, put you down on the books.
Nice.
And the other big place, man, is at Sutherland's parking lot. Right? That's a very high traffic area.
Yeah.
Very, very high traffic. So when I started going there, I met one of their managers. And he was just like, man, he says, you bring so much traffic to me. He says, people think that it's the store that's getting the business and it's what you guys are. So, man, he's like, man, you guys can forever be here. You know,
wow. You know, so you, of course, you asked permission from them.
Yeah. We asked, you know what I mean? And they know, you know what I mean? The managers there, they know me. They know, you know what I mean? When we host there, we're always going to clean up. We're never going to leave it because we don't, you know, they don't mind it, but at the end of the day, we still have to take care of the place. You know what I'm saying? So we always make sure that it's, you know, as good or better than we got there. You know, there's some people that I've had to go over there that I don't know that will do a benefit there, and they'll just leave it trash, man. And then I'll get the phone call, and then, you know, I'll call a couple buddies, hey man, let's go clean this parking lot up, man. You know what I mean? Because I never want them to feel that we're taking advantage of having a place, and you know, we just got to keep it clean. So, you know, sometimes when I'm not doing the benefit, people call me like, "Hey, Pete, I have to go through you to go to Sutherland's." You know, so I'm like, yeah, bro, like, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, if y'all gonna go, man, make sure y'all clean up. You know what I'm saying? If you're not, call me, I'll go clean up. You know what I mean? You know, we just got to keep that place nice and clean so that we can continue to be there, because that's a major area. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, all the people that are there's the people that, like today, a lot of people came out from the church. We're right over there. And then I don't know what it is about Corpus and turkey legs. We love turkey legs.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying?
True.
Like, it's like, you know,
it's true.
You know, first thing that, even when, like, you know, when we do chicken plates or we do pulled pork, first thing, you got turkey legs? I'm like, no, oh, man. I'll come by next time and see if y'all got turkey legs.
Well,
we got chicken plates. I'm like, I don't want to turkey.
No, turkey.
So, you know, I mean, shout out to Corpus, man. They, you know, I mean,
is it difficult? Is it difficult? Because we were talking last time, like you were saying, the pulled pork is a little bit easier to get out. Is it just as hard for the turkey legs like the chicken as opposed to cook them all? You know what I mean? No. Okay.
No, it's you know, like I said, you know, maintaining your fire to make sure you keep it hot enough to cook it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you know, but like I said, I mean, I just over the years, I mean, I'm just like, what is up with Corpus and turkey legs?
Yeah,
like,
no, it's true, bro. It makes. I'm thinking about the jazz festival right now because my aunt helps volunteer. She's been doing it for years, but every time I go over there, I mean, I'm always looking for where the turkey legs, and I know exactly where they're at. a friend of hers, actually, he's the one that has his pit out there. He does them all the time out there. Tony, that's his name. He's the one that does the turkey legs out there, where we usually go to the jazz festival. But yeah, definitely, we're crazy for the turkey legs, bro.
Yeah.
Man, this is awesome. This is awesome. So, kind of wrapping this up, we got a few more questions. Personal lessons. What's the biggest life lesson you've learned through all of this? Because you got the boxing gym, you got your pit. You're influencing a lot of people. Would you say that there's something that you've already shared several stories, like, but I guess nothing that you've learned. Have you shared anything that you've learned? I can't think
I'll tell
back.
you what, man. You know what I mean? You know, with having the boxing gym and then doing these fundraisers, these benefits, man, I've learned how to really care about people, right? Care about their feelings, you know, especially like, you know, when it's like I said, go back to, you know what I mean, you know, when we do these benefits for, you know, these young kids that are dying, you know what I mean? You know, it's I've learned to be a better person knowing that I can treat somebody better than probably somebody would treat me. Right. You know what I mean? So, you know, and everything that I've learned that's up to this is I could put it towards the fact that it's helped me be a better father, a better grandfather, you know, just, you know, a better person, period. Because before, you know, it was just, you know, I was into the party scene, you know, and I was, you know, I wouldn't care.
More selfish, right?
Selfish, absolutely. You know what I mean? And, you know, now I understand what the word selfless means. You know what I mean? You know, because like I said, I mean, I don't, you know, I don't just, how can you say, like, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to put it the way I wanted to understand, but, you know, I just, learning how to be selfless just taught me how to be a better man. Right. You know what I mean? You know, have I been a bad person before? Absolutely. I mean, I'm not perfect. You know what I mean? You know, we're creatures of habit, right? We, you know, we've gone through our trials and tribulations in life. And, you know, now it's just, you know, my life lesson is just how can I continue to stay healthy enough to keep helping people? You know what I mean? And how can I help people understand that you can do this too? I mean, and like today, I mean, there was a guy that just like, hey man, I've never met you. I've heard so much about you. Can I start coming in to help? Absolutely. I ain't never gonna tell you, you know, the more people the merrier. So when I hear people say like, man, you know, you've helped me, you know, overcome, you know, being selfish and wanting to help more. You know what I mean? Like that, you know, when I would have never thought about it, you know what I mean? He goes, but I've known you, I've seen, you know, your path, and, you know, I'm like, well, damn, if he can change, I can change. You know what I mean? So, you know, and then also too, just, you know what I mean? You know, standing up and not being scared to speak out. You know what I mean? You know, on things that us men go through as well. You know what I mean? Like that, because like we talked last time in the last podcast, you know what I mean? There's men that still hold everything in and scared to talk about it. You know what I mean? And now and I used to be that guy. You know what I mean? We hold everything in because we come from a different cloth of, oh, you're not supposed to let nobody know your business, and blah, blah, blah. But sometimes, you know, me and you can carry a conversation that, you know, I don't know what you're going through, but you sit there and tell me like, man, you know, I see what you're doing, and man, that's inspired me, you know what I mean, you know, to be a better person, you know, or this and this and that. And I want to get involved and I want to start helping you. Come on. Nice. You know what I'm saying? Like, try it out. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying this for everybody, but you know what I mean? You know, that's, you know, something that can, you know, just, you know, it's baby steps, because it didn't happen overnight for me to get to where I'm at right now as far as helping people. Like, you know, I took a lot of losses along the way. You know what I mean? I took a lot of losses along the way, but you know, now, you know, it's going in a positive direction. You know what I mean? You know, a lot of people, you know what I mean? The community of this is getting a lot bigger than I ever expected to get. You know what I mean? So amazing. Just looking at all that, those are the life lessons that I feel that I've learned to help me be the better person that I am today.
Yeah. It helps.
You
It
know what I mean?
changes you. If you could go back, what advice would you give your younger self?
You know, quit being hard headed, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, those, now that I go back and look, I mean, there was a lot of people in my life that try to steer me the right way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just, but, you know, I
Yeah.
was born in the late 70s. I
Mhm.
grew up in the, you know what I mean? Yeah, I went through the 80s, survived the 90s, you know what I mean? And, it was, we're just hard headed, man. We just, so if I had, if I could go back, 30 years and just be like, hey, look, dude,
Mm.
there's a light at the end of this tunnel, man.
Mhm.
I can bring you back to it if you could help yourself be that better person so that you knew when you got here,
Mhm.
you skipped all this negativity in between. You know
Wow.
what I mean? But you have to want it, you know what I mean? And I'll probably slap myself around a couple times, you know what I mean? If I can go back, but it's and I think about that a lot too, you know what I mean? Like, man, I mean, I should have been thinking like this a long time ago. But
Mm.
we're creatures of habit. I say this all the time. We're creatures of habit, and we that, like that saying, right? You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
You got negative people around you, that's all you're gonna think about. You got positive people, you're gonna think positive. You know what I'm saying? And it's not healthy for anybody to always be negative about something. You know what I'm saying? So that's probably one of the things I'd beat myself up, slap myself around a little bit, let you know, like, hey man,
Right.
snap out of it.
Advice for someone listening who wants to start giving back but doesn't know where to start. What advice would you give?
Man, it I always say this first and foremost. You can't look at it as you're getting into like a business, right? You gotta have a heart for it.
Mm.
Like, you have to be willing to know that you may have to cancel some plans in life. You may have to cancel some probably important moments in your life that, you know what I mean, with family, friends, and stuff like that. I said, because I've had to put that to the side because, like I said, sometimes I feel I get a text message from the man upstairs like, hey, this just happened. What are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be the one that says, no, I'm not going to do it. And then when my time comes to walk up them pearly gates, I get denied. You know what I mean? So I take that part of understanding that real serious, you know what I mean? And it was something that, there's some people in my life that didn't understand that. And I had to tell them, I was like, look, this is my path. I'm not expecting you to understand my path, but this is what I have to do. And I'm going to do it with an open heart. And if I upset some people on the way, so it be.
Yeah.
I mean, so it'd be. So, I've always told them is just, getting into it and doing it. I said, when you have an open heart about it, man, you're just going to feel a whole lot better because it was something that you probably wanted to do for so long.
Yeah.
You just didn't know how to come about it. Just do it. Just, I didn't think about like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday plan.
Yeah.
Like, I just jumped in and head in, and I wanted to see where it went.
Figure it out along the way.
You figure it out along the way, you know what I mean? And, just be genuine about it, you know what I mean? Just have the heart for it, you know what I mean? And let everything fall into place. Because that's how I feel that it did for me. Like, I put my heart into it for when I did the first one ever for my dad, and everything just fell into place.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Everything fell into place, So, I'm grateful for it, you know what I mean? Shout out to my dad. I wish he was here because I know, that he would be a big part of this. A big part of this. Because like I said, my dad liked to barbecue. I remember, him doing it. You know what I mean? Not at no big scale of cooking,
Yeah.
but we knew we was gonna eat some chicken legs and some fajitas, and you know what I mean. Dad was cooking. So, I know he's watching down, and he's watching me carry his footsteps in.
Right on. We got to wrap it. Last question. What keeps you going even when things get tough? And if you could leave our listeners with one message, what would it be?
What was that like? The first part you said?
The first one is what keeps you going even when things get tough? If you could leave our listeners with one message, what would it be?
What keeps me going when things get tough?
Yeah.
My
That's a
faith in
good
the
one.
man upstairs, man. Because when I, you know, and the type of work that I do, I always tell my guys when we talk about, when things get bad, when things get tough, I always tell people, I said, what time did you wake up this morning? They're like, I woke up at 6. I said, at 6:01, somebody didn't make it.
Mm. Wow.
Somebody's son, somebody's father, somebody's son, grandmother, somebody at 6:01, somebody didn't make it. Live your best life. No regrets.
Mm.
Right. And be happy and genuine about what you do. And that's what I teach my kids. I'm saying, like, you're not living a legacy for me. You're living a legacy for yourself and for your kids and your generation of, you know what I mean? So, I always, like I said, I always just try to tell them just to always stay positive and think positive. You know what I'm saying? Because, when you start thinking negative, you veer away from the path that you're trying to create. You know what I mean? So, that's me knowing that I felt that I've gotten closer to the man upstairs. It's just opened up and made me feel great about everything that I do. I don't hold no regrets in anything that I've done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I think that that's what got me to where I'm at now. I said, but you know what I mean? I don't have that mentality of it anymore because everything is, positive. You know what I mean? So, and to my listeners and everybody watching, man, like I said, just, man, I mean, it's the same stuff that we repeat all the time, man. You know what I mean? You got to keep God first. That's how you're going to get through life. You know what I'm saying? It's, if you don't have him first in your life, and I'm not perfect with it either. I still have mistakes.
Of course.
You know what I mean? But, I wake up every morning and I know that when I if I made it to that day, I know somebody else didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to enjoy every day, you know what I mean? Like it's my last, you know what I'm saying? Cause you don't know when I leave here and I go home, you know what I mean? You might see a Facebook post, Pete Trevino, blah, blah, or anybody, you know what I'm saying? It can happen, you know what I'm saying? From natural causes to, an accident on the freeway,
Wow.
you know what I mean? Like it could just be, so tragic, you know what I mean? And then, when you pass on to the next world and you're looking down, you're like, man, I should have, been, a better person like this, or I should have got more involved with this. And, so, what I mean? That's just my view on how I think, you know what I mean? Not everybody thinks the same, but you know what I mean? I do. What helps me out too is that I feel great when young kids ask me like, hey Pete, like, how did you make it? And I give them I give them my story, you know what I mean? And, if it helps them, great, you know what I mean? And if it doesn't, I want them to find somebody that will make it understand for them. You know what I mean? So.
Great, man. It's been an excellent conversation. So we covered your journey,
Sir.
a little bit of your journey using boxing and barbecue to impact
sir.
lives and lessons that we learned along the way.
Yes,
If people want to support you, whether it's getting involved with the gym or attending the barbecue benefit, where can they find you?
Oh man, Facebook.
Facebook.
You can
Pete
DM
Trevino?
me. Yeah, Pete Trevino. You can DM me. I'm actually somebody brought it to my attention today that why don't I start a Facebook page for fundraising and benefit so that people know they can go here and click on that page and somebody might comment like, hey, you know what I mean? Can you put this on here so that they know they got one place they can click on? Oh man, there's a benefit going on this weekend, instead of looking at shares and looking at somebody's news feed. They can go click on
There's like a group or a page.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
specifically
But
for
public
that.
for everybody to see, to where people can post on there and and get the word out about what they got going on, whether I'm doing it or somebody else is doing it, but somewhere where there's going to be a good platform
Cool.
where followers are looking for the weekends and they're like, oh man, who's having a fundraiser today, or who's having a benefit. They could go and support, and help out, So that was a good idea, you know what I'm saying? Something I'm gonna put some thought into, you
Nice.
know what I mean? And, and of course, like somebody told me today, they're like, hey, well, why don't you start a podcast? I got too much. I'm not a podcast guy. You know what I mean? That's shout out to everybody that has one. It's a lot of work.
There's a lot. There's a lot that has started just here recently. They're getting
you know what I mean?
popular.
I was like, I don't tend to try to get into none of that. You know what I mean? I don't mind going on the platform and talking about the journeys and
Yeah.
supporting other people. I said, but
Cool.
yeah, no, I said if he's not going to start, I'm not going to start no podcast. I said I'll go and get on those platforms and and share my story and help them. Get the word out of the positivity that happens in our city and stuff like that.
Right on, right on. Any upcoming events to keep an eye out for?
Yeah, we got one March 1st, man. We got a family that reached out. I don't have all the details yet, but March 1st we have one in the books for. But for right now, that's that's about it right now. So
it's awesome. Well, Pete, thanks again for sharing your story. I know it's going to inspire a lot of people. To our viewers, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you like, share, subscribe, follow us on Corpus Christi Originals, and follow Pete also to check out what events he's got coming up. And excellent conversation, man.